Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be sharing my most recent book haul. Alright guys, so it is already time for another book haul. I'm gonna call this like my almost summer book haul. School year is winding down and I am so excited for summer break. So anyway, I have a decent amount of books on this list, I think around 15. There's a mix of fantasy romance and contemporary romance, and I'm so excited to talk about these books with you guys. Now, if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Instagram and Goodreads, both linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's talk about these books. So starting off with fantasy romance, I do want to talk about one set of Dustjackts that I recently purchased, and they are Throne of Glass paperback Dustjackts. So one, I had no idea that paperback Dustjackts were a thing. I thought you could only get like special edition Dustjackts when you bought like hardbacks, but these are for the Throne of Glass paperbacks, and I love them so much. So I didn't love the original Throne of Glass paperbacks, like with the person on them. And then the new ones that were just released, I also wasn't like a huge fan of, and I definitely didn't want to spend like hundreds of dollars on that box set. So these came up in like an Instagram post, and I love them so much. So I highly recommend. They're very affordable. If you want to get Dustjackts for your paperbacks of Throne of Glass, I will leave a link down in the description below. Not sponsored at all. I love them and I wanted to share. So anyway, absolutely obsessed and highly, highly recommend. All right, so this next book is incredibly popular right now. I keep seeing it all over Bookstagram, BookTok, BookTube. All of my friends that have read it have absolutely loved it. And that is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. So I'm not exactly sure when this video is gonna come out, but a few of my friends and I will be having a live show where we discuss this book, and it's happening on Christy Reads a Lot's channel on the 23rd or 24th, I forget. I'll leave all the information down in the description below. But hopefully you can join us or we talk about this book. I'll definitely have the book read by then. But this is following Violet. So Violet is a girl, I believe she has a chronic illness, and she plans to grow up and just become a scribe. However, she ends up having to join the army that her mother is like a general for, and this army rides dragons. So she essentially has to learn how to become a dragon rider, and I'm assuming there is a romance in there somewhere. But like I said, everyone is loving this book. So I really hope I love it as much as everybody else. This is I don't know if this is the Barnes & Noble exclusive version, but I pre-ordered this from Barnes & Noble. It took forever to get to me. I saw everyone opening theirs on release day, and I got mine like the Friday after. But it does have these really cool sprayed edges, so I'm very happy that I got my copy, and I am so looking forward to reading this book. All right, the next two books on this list are both from Fairyloot. So first up we have In the Lives of Puppets, and this is by TJ Klune. So this is the same author that wrote House in the Cerulean Sea and Wolfsong, which are two of my favorite books of all time. So I hope this book is as good as both of those. What I know about this is we are following this family. So the family is comprised of one human and then three robots, and they kind of live off the grid, and they're just one big happy family, and they're just loving life. And then they stumble upon the remains of another robot, and when they put that robot back together, they accidentally send off a location signal. And then they learn that one of the robots in their family actually used to help hunt and murder humans. So because the location signal was now activated, people are now chasing them, and the story goes from there. So I don't know how this is doing review-wise. I really haven't looked into it. I think the only person I know that has read it is my friend Issa. She's currently reading it. So I really hope this is good as the two other books that I mentioned. I know that House in the Cerulean Sea and Wolfsong are just such emotional and like heartfelt reads with like such a good message. House in the Cerulean Sea, I feel like, is an amazing book that anyone that works in education, guidance, social work needs to read. So I really hope that I enjoy this as much as those, and I can't wait to pick this up. I will probably be reading this towards the end of June. And this next book is from Fairyloot's YA box, and it is Silver in the Bone. So I love, this is the naked hardback, and the sprayed edges. I will say the sprayed edges don't really match the hardback now that I'm looking at it in my field monitor. But either way, this is following a girl who is a hollower, and what that means is she sneaks into crypts to collect ancient treasure. So one day she hears a rumor about a ring that is somehow linked to a Arthurian legend that'll be able to heal her brother. I have no idea what her brother is suffering from. I just know this ring is gonna help. So she decides she is gonna go and look for this ring, and she ends up partnering with someone that I think it's her colleague that she doesn't really get along with, and together they are searching for this ring while other Hollowers are also searching for it. So this sounds pretty good. My only hesitation is Alexandra Bracken, I'm pretty sure, is the same author that wrote a book that I really, really disliked when I first started BookTube. It's all white and has a Medusa on the cover. I'm pretty sure it's called Lore, but I'm not positive. And I really disliked that book. I felt like the writing wasn't really for me. There was a lot of pacing issues. Also, as far as the plot, there wasn't enough world building. It just felt very surface level. And reading the synopsis of this, it sounds like this might be the same way. However, I have not read this yet, so I do not want this to like put you off of picking this book up. Maybe it's amazing. So I do plan on reading this at some point in the summer, and hopefully I love it, because normally fantasy that revolves around like Arthurian legend, I love. So hopefully this will be a fun time. And next up is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. So this is by Carissa Broadbent, and it's the second book in the Crown of Nyxia series, the first one being Serpent in the Wings of Night. So I recently read Serpent in the Wings of Night, and I really enjoyed it. If you are unfamiliar with what that story is about, we are following Oria, and she is a human girl that is living in this vampiric kingdom. When she was very young, the head of the vampires ends up finding her and takes her back to his kingdom and raises her as his daughter. Now, she is a human living among vampires, so it is unbelievably dangerous. So she decides when she comes of age, she is going to enter the Kajari, which is this very deadly tournament where if she wins, and by winning, that means she is the sole survivor, she will be granted a wish from the goddess of death. So that is the story, and it is so good. The action never stops. Once again, really enjoyed it. So this is the sequel, and I cannot wait to read it. Now, the big downside here is that the audiobook for this does not come out until the end of August. So it's going to be a while until I get to the sequel, just because I really primarily listen to audiobooks. It takes a lot for me to pick up a book physically, so I'm okay with waiting. So I will be reading this in August, and hopefully it's as good as the first book. And next up, we have What Lurks Between the Fates, and this is the third book in the What Lies Beyond the Veil series. So at the time I'm filming this, I was halfway into this third book, and then I had to put it down because I have other commitments. But this is slowly becoming one of my favorite fantasy romance series. It is so good, just the spice and the main characters, and I'm obsessed. So I have a full spoiler-free review of the first book, What Lies Beyond the Veil. If you want to check that out, I will leave it in the cards and in the description. But just to give you like a brief idea, we are following our main character, Estella, and she lives in a very patriarchal community that separates themselves from the Fae world by this veil. And to keep this veil running, they sacrifice a human every few years or so. So our main character, Estella, ends up being picked to be sacrificed, but right before she is about to be killed, the veil ends up shattering, and all of these Fae come spilling out, and they start marking humans. Now, they are marking humans to be Fae mates, and Estella ends up being marked, and she does not want that fate, so she goes on the run and tries to hide out from humans that want to kill her to stop her from marrying a Fae, and also Fae because she doesn't want to be a Fae's mate. So the first book is so good, but honestly, these books get better and better the farther you go into the series. I will say the first book, the main character, Estella, is frustratingly naive and predictable. Like, you should be able to guess the big twist in that first book very, very quickly. And the fact that our main character does not is very frustrating, and I see that as one of the main critiques of the first book. And so valid, totally agree. However, I love the romance. I love the spice. I recently found out that Harper Woods is actually a pen name for a romance author. Adeline something, I'll leave it on the screen. But the romance in this, like the spice, top tier. So highly recommend, definitely pick this up if you haven't yet. And next up we have Timeborne, and this is a debut fantasy romance by Sara Samuels. So I ended up listening to an audio arc of this book, and I have a not really review on Instagram, it's kind of like a plot synopsis, but this is essentially following Olivia, who ends up finding out that she is Timeborne, meaning that she was born during an eclipse and it can travel through time. So she ends up traveling to Rome, where she meets this like gladiator type general, and the story goes from there. So I ended up rating this around 2.53 stars. It wasn't really for me. However, I think there are people out there that would really enjoy this. It's very similar to, not really similar, it is a little similar to Outlander. So if you like that whole like going back into history, I think you would probably enjoy this. Just know this has a lot less world building than the Outlander series. But overall, it was a fun time, and if it sounds like something you're into, definitely pick it up. And the next two books are monster romance. So first up we have Ensnared by Tiffany Roberts. So this is following Catan and Ivy. So Catan is essentially a giant alien spider, and he is kind of like a forager in his community. And in his community, the males are kind of like the workers, and then there is a female queen that is like more powerful and more skilled. So the queen in Catan's community really wants Catan as her mate. However, Catan, not about it. He doesn't like the queen. The queen right now is like taking food from the poor, and she's just not a good ruler. So Catan, one day when he's like going through the jungle, he happens upon this pod, and when it opens, Ivy comes out. Now, Ivy is this human girl that thought she was going to a new planet just to start a new human community, and instead ended up on this planet filled with alien spiders. And it is their love story. And I rated it 4.5 stars. I very much enjoyed this. I think this is probably my favorite monster romance, only because it actually has a lot, first of all, it has a lot going on in terms of plot and action. So this is the first in, I believe, a 3-book series. So not everything gets resolved in this first book. It is also unbelievably slow burn. I want to let you guys know that right now. Nothing really spicy happens till very near the end of the book, but it's worth the wait because we really get to find out more of Catan, or learn more about Catan, the Rex, his race, his motivations, and then also Ivy. Ivy has a pretty horrific past. She's really been alone most of her life, and it was so great seeing these two creatures that just didn't know how to interact with each other slowly fall in love, and I loved it. So highly recommend. New favorite monster romance, definitely pick it up. And this next book is an monster romance that I have not read yet, but I have very high hopes for, and it is Soul Eater by Mayne. So this is taking place in a dystopian world where monsters have taken over the earth, and our main character is Danny. So he is a 20-something guy from the South, and he has joined the military because he has like no one left. His mother has recently passed away, and he is just trying to stay safe from monsters. So anyway, he finds out that his group is about to go hunt Win the Soul Eater, who is one of the most dangerous monsters around. So his entire like legion ends up being killed during this, and Danny is the only survivor, despite the fact that he never even drew his gun. So something's happened, I'm not exactly sure what, but Soul Eater, Win the Soul Eater, and Danny end up traveling together, and it is their love story, and I am so interested. So this has really good reviews. I think it's over 4.5. I've heard amazing things about this author, and I'm excited. I cannot wait to read this. So I will be picking this up probably as soon as I finish filming this video. I have to read it for a vlog that is coming out later this month, and it should be really good. Moving into romance. So first up was actually a gift, and it is Inked in Lies by Giana Darling. This is my absolute favorite book in the Fallen Men series, which is a motorcycle club series that is amazing. I have a spoiler-free series review of that series. I'll leave in the cards and the description. But Caitlin was looking for the Hello Lovely hockey romance that was recently released. Personally, I don't love hockey romance, so I said I would send my copy her way. And then she surprised me and got me this off my wish list. So thank you so much, Caitlin. I'm so excited to add this to my Giana Darling collection. And this next book also kind of involves Caitlin. So we have If Only You, and this is by Chloe Liese. This is her latest release in the Bergman Brothers series. So Caitlin actually is the reason I discovered Chloe Liese. We ended up doing a collab where I picked her TBR and she picked mine. And she picked Chloe Liese, and I was absolutely obsessed with Always Only You. I'm pretty sure it's the second book in that series. Oh my gosh, that book. If you have not read that book yet, read it. It is so good. So this is following the little sister of the love interest in that book. And she is, I believe, a soccer player. I don't know if she's professional or not, but she's on the autism spectrum. And I think our love interest is her brother's best friend. And I think he has celiac disease. But I cannot wait to read this. I have been waiting for Ziggy's story because she's introduced in Always Only You. And she's such an awesome character. And I feel like I don't see a lot of books that have autism rep. There have been a few, but I feel like Always Only You just does it so well. So I'm so looking forward to reading this. I will definitely be reading this in early June. and I cannot wait. All right, so this next book, I have no idea what it is about. I bought it because I saw one, a lot of my friends were picking it up, and also it was on sale and the cover was gorgeous. So it is My Dark Romeo. This is by Parker S. Huntington and L.J. Shen. And I believe it's a very unhinged Romeo and Juliet retelling. I know nothing else, and no one is really telling me if they liked it or not. They're just saying it was like a fun time, but I haven't heard like amazing reviews. I also haven't heard very like negative reviews. So we'll see. I'm very curious. I do hope to pick this up at some point in the summer. I do have the audiobook, so I'll be listening to it via audio. And yeah, I'm very interested. And last up, we have the Mind Up series, and this is by St. Abbey. So this is a bind-up of books 1 through 5. I am listening to them via audio. So far I've listened to the first 2 books, and it's worth all of the hype. I know a lot of people were reading this last summer. I got so many people message me telling me I needed to pick this up. I was waiting for the audio. I didn't actually think it was ever going to come, but it's here. And I'm really enjoying this. If you like Dexter, I believe it was on Showtime years ago, you will love this. So we're following this girl who is a serial killer, and something very heinous happened to her, and she is getting revenge on the guys that did it. However, she ends up dating an FBI agent who's also a profiler who is also trying to hunt the serial killer responsible for killing all of these men, who happens to be her. So it is so good, and like it really hooks you in. So I'm very much enjoying this. I will hopefully have this finished by the end of May, and I'll do like a full video where I talk about it, but I cannot wait to keep reading. This is definitely worth the hype. All right, guys, that is it for my book haul. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know down in the comments below if you have read any of the book I mentioned, which one is your favorite. And I said this already, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday, and if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. I will see you all next week. Bye.